the owners of the physical Ed and Lorraine Warren's Home and Occult Museum. We are the legal guardians and caretakers of all 750 haunted artifacts and items in the Warren Museum, including the Annabelle doll.
How scary would it be if the scariest doll in the world wasn't locked away? What if it meant going on trips, meeting new people, and even staying in a house for the night? This is not a story from a movie, it's real life. Many people love comic Matt Rife, and now he has the keys to Annabelle, the scary doll that people say has been haunting them for decades. Wait a minute, because I'm about to tell you things that no one should talk about. The doll that refuses to die. She did not come with thunder or lightning. Instead, she was a birthday present from her mother in Hartford, Connecticut, to her nurse daughter, who is 28 years old. It looked like nothing bad was going on when you first saw the big Raggedy Ann doll lying on a bed. That fantasy didn't last, though. Within a few weeks, small changes began. Overnight, the doll's arms and legs would move around. Her head would be tilted in a different way. You could say it was because of your memory until it happened every day. After that, the texts came. Pieces of crumpled parchment with the words "Help me" or "Help us" written on them showed up all over the room. The two people living together didn't even have parchment paper. They didn't have a pen that went with the ink. Still, the sounds kept showing up, as if someone or something were trying to be heard. The moves got stronger. People would leave the doll on the couch and then find it sitting in the kitchen. If you left her in the bedroom, she would come back by the front door. Then, one day, the unthinkable happened. Her hands started to leak what looked like dark red blood. It was mixed with fear at first. A guy friend stayed over one night. When he woke up, the doll was sitting next to his bed with its eyes closed. He had no control. He was short of breath. It felt like hands that weren't there were getting tighter around his throat. When the pressure finally let up, he left before dawn, pale and shaking. When the roommates ran out of choices, they called a medium. Then the story of Annabelle Higgins came up. The spirit world said that the little girl had lived on the land before the apartment building was built. She had died when she was 7 years old. The ghost said she liked the two women and felt safe around them. Because the story touched them, they let her stay. They made a mistake there. The problems got worse. It wasn't the spirit of a child at all. It was something else. Some famous ghost hunters, Ed and Lorraine Warren, heard about the story. As soon as they got there, they knew what was really going on. The doll was just a way for an inhuman presence to communicate with them. It wasn't looking for company, it was looking for a host. Annabelle was taken out of the room by the Warrens. They sprayed holy water on her, put her in a custom-made glass case with the words "Positively do not open" taped to the front, and then left her there. She stayed there for decades while the Warrens watched over her and was never let go again. A lot of people thought that was the end of the story, but Hollywood doesn't let famous people sleep. The scary history of the doll led to the Conjuring movies and a full Annabelle spin-off trilogy. People saw a porcelain-faced fake on screen, but the real Annabelle was kept hidden. A worn-out Raggedy Ann doll whose smile never changed, even as the stories about her grew. She had been locked up behind glass for years, unable to speak. In 2025, however, that case would be put to the test like never before. Annabelle would be taken on the road for the first time in decades. People would come from all over the city to see the doll that should never be touched. She would leave the safety of her locked home and go from city to city, and the show would take a life before the summer was over. Death on the Devil's Tour. Annabelle had been locked up in a glass case for decades. In 2025, the case was finally opened, but not so that she could go to a home. Instead, she was sent across the United States. The tour was called Devils on the Run, and for people who believe in ghosts, it was like taking a live bomb on a trip to see the sights. The doll had never been away from the Warren Museum for so long before, and it didn't take long for the choice to split the community in two. A lot of people stood in line to see her at every stop. Paranormal fans went on it like a journey, with cameras ready to record proof of something supernatural. People who didn't believe came to make fun, but once they were in the same room, they spoke more quietly. A lot of people were scared not because they thought Annabelle would hurt someone directly, but because they thought that just being near her could leave a mark you couldn't see. Lead investigator for the New England Society for Psychic Research, Dan Rivera, was at the center of this tour. Rivera already knew about Annabelle's story. He had worked for Nice PR for years, following strict control rules that the Warrens had taught them. He knew what it meant to break the seal and how the case had been blessed and sealed. Moving her from state to state and city to city, he was the one who showed her to groups of people who sometimes couldn't hide their desire to break the rules by getting too close, leaning over barriers, and trying to take pictures that weren't allowed. Even though Rivera was careful, the things that happened before the trip seemed to have a rhythm of unease. Reports started to come in from people who were there. At one place, some people said the room's temperature dropped quickly when the doll was shown off. At another, a woman said she had a sharp scratch on her arm, even though no one was nearby. Some tourists said that when they tried to take pictures, their phone batteries died right away. Even though each event was small enough to be ignored on its own, they all started to fit together in a way that fed the tale. People wanted to see her more and more as the news got around the web. A lot of shaky videos and short clips with shadows or moving objects that were hard to make out were shared on social media. Hashtags were popular. There was a thin line between marketing and danger, but the effect was the same. More attention, more talk, and according to those who thought Annabelle was dangerous, more energy for her to feed on. Then there was Gettysburg. At 8 p.m. in July, Rivera checked into his hotel after a tour stop in the old Pennsylvania town. He was found in his room the next morning, not moving. Heart failure was the official cause of death. He was 54 years old. The police ruled out any foul play. It turned out that the doll wasn't in the room. The facts didn't matter to people who had been following the tour, though. Within hours, the believers went from hearing whispers to being sure of what they were hearing. They didn't care about where the doll was in the real world. It was about how things went from being taken away from her case to her traveling across the country and becoming more and more interested in her, to her shocking death at the hands of the man she had been closest to. Some people thought it was just a chance. But even they couldn't ignore how well the story fit with the warnings the Warrens had given decades before. That's when another name came into the story. One that isn't connected to investigating the supernatural, but to movies that are packed and funny videos that go viral. A name that no one thought would be connected to a glass case in Monroe, Connecticut. Comedian Matt Rife would come forward just a few weeks after Dan Rivera's death, not as a guest, but as the person who made the most hated doll in America. Matt Rife steps into the glass case's shadow. Just as the dust from Gettysburg was beginning to settle, the paranormal world was hit by another earthquake. On August 1, 2025, Matt Rife, a 29-year-old comedian with over 41 million online fans, made a big reveal that no one saw coming. His shows were sold out and videos of him making jokes went viral. The video was short but shocking. He was now legally responsible for the most famous haunted item in America, along with the house and museum it lived in. This wasn't just Rife's idea. Together with YouTuber Elton Castee, he took care of Ed and Lorraine Warren's property in Monroe, Connecticut. This is the same spot where the Warrens' occult museum had been for decades. It wasn't just one item that was bought. It meant being in charge of a whole collection of 750 things that were linked to supernatural events, demonic encounters, and tragedies that no one could explain. And right in the middle of it all was the glass case with Annabelle in it. Over the course of 65 years, the Warrens did more than 3,000 investigations. They left behind a museum that ghost hunters, doubters, and horror fans from all over the world came to see. Before it had to close in 2019 because of zoning problems, it was one of the most well-known places to see ghosts. Annabelle wasn't just another display. She was the star of the show and the main reason why most people came. But Rife said that the purchase was more than just a stunt. It was a personal interest. It made him laugh that a stand-up comic would be in charge of something so strange. He called it the most important piece of paranormal history in the world. He even said there was a chance of harm and joked that collecting stamps might have been safer. But he also made it clear that part of the draw was the risk. It wasn't the plan to lock the doors and hide the collection. In fact, the opposite. Rife said that he would reopen the house for overnight stays. This would allow people to sleep together with some of the most famously cursed objects in history. There would be guided tours of the museum itself, which was advertised as a way to experience and learn all the haunted history in person. Fans of scary movies thought it was a dream. It was a cry for people who thought these things were dangerous. The response online was quick and split. Some people called the move legendary and said it would lead to a lot of material, documentaries, and videos going viral. Others said he poked something that had been kept inside for decades on purpose. Horror fans on Reddit disagreed on whether Rife's interest in the supernatural was real or just a way for him to make money off of Annabelle's newfound fame. No one missed the fact that this news came just a few weeks after Dan Rivera's sudden death. For believers, Rife seemed to be moving right into the shadow of that tragedy, carrying not only the doll, but also all the weight that came with it. Skeptics thought the timing of the whole thing made it look like a complicated PR stunt. No matter what the reason was, one thing was for sure. The glass case that had been left alone while the Warrens watched was now in the care of a man whose life had been built on stages, not seances. It was also planned to bring Annabelle closer to the public than she had been in years. This made it possible for fun and the unknown to come together. Warnings from beyond the veil. While Matt Rife's news may have made fans happy, it didn't take long for a very different voice to join the talk. Matt Fraser, a famous psychic medium known for his work on TV and in public, sent out a warning that cut right through the hype. He saw Annabelle as more than just a scary toy behind glass. She was a vessel, which means she could and would react to attention. He said she should never be awakened. Fraser explained the process in a way that made it sound less like magic and more like a chain reaction that wasn't supposed to happen. He thought that every story, picture, and eye-catching crowd leaning in to get a better look fed her. She wasn't feeding the cotton or sewing the doll itself. She was feeding the force that was connected to it. He said it was an earthbound energy that had been held there on purpose, maybe through dark rituals or black magic. He said the doll wasn't dangerous from the start. It had become risky, and it got stronger as more people knew about it. He thought the problem was easy to understand. Interest leads to action. Spirits that haven't crossed over are looking for energy sources, and one of the easiest to get is from people. Fraser said it was like dealing with a bully, but not in the way that bullies do in school. It gets stronger when you push back. If you don't pay attention to it, it will try to get your attention again. Bullies get more and more sure of themselves while you get tired over time. He told them this is how dark energy really works. For him, this wasn't just a thought. Fraser found a link between the trend of more exposure and more activity. He said there was a reason Ed and Lorraine Warren had kept Annabelle's show quiet. The glass case wasn't there just to look nice. It was a barrier that, when strengthened with prayer, was meant to keep her from touching or talking to anything outside of it. The Warrens didn't try to get people to come see her. She wasn't led through people like a princess. They also didn't urge people to stay the night in the same building. Fraser thought Rife's plans went against that and should be stopped. It was one thing to let people tour the museum. It was quite another to let them spend the night among hundreds of haunted items. It didn't seem like the risks were just a single scare in the house to him. When energy was upset, it didn't stay where it was. Visitors could leave with something they didn't have when they got there, something they couldn't see but could feel in the form of bad luck, trouble sleeping, or strange noises that followed them home. Even though people warned Rife, he didn't change his plans. The museum would be open again. People would stay the night. Annabelle's case would be the center of attention instead of being tucked away in a dusty area. That leaves one question. What will happen next when the most haunted doll in America gets a new stage to act on? In a world where myth, business, and danger are now all mixed up, what will happen next? The unanswered questions. There has always been more to the glass case that holds Annabelle than just a show. After being blessed with holy water and sealed by the Warrens, It was meant to keep an evil spirit inside. But in 2025, that seal will be put to the test like never before. During the Devils on the Run show, the doll has been moved, taken places, and seen by many hands and eyes. People who believe in the supernatural wonder if all of those moves have already worn down whatever defenses were there, making what used to be a safe prison into something much less safe. The real question is what takes place when people get close. Annabelle's history is full of warnings from people who tapped on the glass and later told of car accidents, illnesses, or scary dreams. People say they get dizzy or sick just being near her, even if they don't touch her. Now that longer stays are planned in the same house, there isn't much space between being safe and being too close. Then there's the question of why this is happening right now. Years ago, Matt Rife said that he likes scary movies, but the news came out right after Warner Brothers released the trailer for The Conjuring, The Devil's Rights. For some, the timing seems like pure marketing, a chance to cash in on all the interest in the brand. There's a clear business opportunity here. Experiences like Sleep with Annabelle could sell out for months, but driving for love and making money are not the same. And it's not clear which one is in charge. Could Rife come to feel bad about what he did? There aren't many times when a comic is found to be in charge of one of the world's most feared ghost antiques. It's possible that the next 5 years will only bring ticket sales and picture ops, or they could cause crashes, strange events, and the kind of news stories that no one wants to be linked to their name. Finally, here is the next part of the doll's story. Annabelle's story has been shaped for decades by the people who had power over her. First the Warrens, and then now ESPR. The stage and the people watching are now different. The world is waiting for Rife's first event to happen so they can decide if the danger is real or just a story. There's one thing for sure. The most famous ghost doll in America is still making news. And that's the chilling tale for today. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories just like this. Don't go anywhere. Click the next video popping up on your screen now.